Okay, Tov, today's daf is daf Chaf Dalid. We'll start with Toshma, which you already did yesterday on the bottom of Chaf Gimel Amud Beis. And we're trying to figure out if the Rabbanon, whose name is not mentioned at all in the Mishnah, but nevertheless, they disagree with Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. And they hold that a Madris Chavero in Lo Yochal Etzlo, it's not called Nidrei Zerazin, it's a Neder and it's Chal. Toshma, this now we learned in the Mishnah, Omer Lechavero, now we start the Daf. Konom She'eni Neder Lecha, in other words, that which I will eat from you should be also like a korban, on the condition that im Iata Notel Bincha Kur Shel Chitim Ushtei Chavil Shel Yayin, if you won't take from my possessions all this wonderful chitim and yayin, and even if the Tanai was miskayim and his friend did not take from his son, for his son, I should say, this chitim and chavios yayin, the neder should be chal. Hareze yochol atiro lahatis nidro shelo al pi chacham. In other words, he doesn't need she'ilas chacham. Why? Sheyochel lomalo kluma amarti ela b'shvil kvodi. His friend, who he threatened to be madir, he says, your neder was because of my kavod. You want the kavod that through this matana, I will be considered in the Eni Abrios a mechuba. They'll see that I'm considered so chashiv in your eyes, that you're giving such a gift. But the truth is, zel kvodi, on the contrary. My kavod is that I won't accept your gift, and that's based on Soni Matanas Nifya, and I'll have a greater kavod if in the eyes of the brios they'll see that you want to give me a matana and I don't want to take it. So the Gemara says, Taimo, let's be medayik from the Mishnah. The only reason why the net is not chal is because the other person, he has a right to say, Zehu kvodi. It's my greater kavod if I don't accept your gift. Holavach, if not for that svara, then nederhu, it would be a neder. And that cannot be Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. It has to be the Rabbanan Bani. Iki Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, who says that Arotzu b'chaveru yochel etzlo madiro nidrei zeres in him, and it's not chal, is here also in this case when he says a konom, if you won't take for your son the kurchitin, etc., is nidrei zeres in havi, and therefore this neder would not be chal. Elo, we have no choice. By process of elimination, Shmamino Pligi Rabbanale. It must be that the Rabbanan rejected Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov. They hold that a person whose mother is kaver b'tnai, im lo tavo lechol etzli, or in this case, im lo tikach matana levanecha. We don't say that the Noder had a kavanah just to be Mizaris, his friend, but rather he was very serious, and if the Tanai would be fulfilled, the Neder should be chal. The Gemara rejects this. Liolam Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Truth is that we can interpret this Mishnah as reflecting even the Shita of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Umoder Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov b'hai the Nidra Havi. In this case, where he prohibits upon himself the Nechasim is Chavero, if his friend won't come and take this gift for his son, Nidra Havi, it's a valid neder, and he becomes osir of the Nechasim of his friend. And this is not only a zirut, but rather he means it seriously. Why? Because we can interpret that what he meant was the Amar Le Lo Kalvano. I'm like a dog who takes and doesn't give, but rather, I don't want to be mishanim enough. I don't want to get any benefit from you. Velo mishanis minayin. You don't get any benefit from me. So I want to give you back. So therefore, I want you to take this gift for your son. And therefore, when he takes this neder and he prohibits his friends the chasim upon himself, his kavana is that if his friend won't get hana from him, meaning he won't take this gift, then he won't get any hana from him. I don't want any hana back from you. I want this neder to be chal. If you're not willing to get hana from me, I don't want to get hana from you. But when we could say that the neder is to be mizaris chavero, then we're not sure that the Chachamim rejected Rabbi Eliezer. It's very possible that they would accept Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. And then we could wonder whether the halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov or not. Toshma, let's be poshet this suffix from the Mishnah. Omer l'chavero konom shato nenesli. That which you benefit from me should be osir alecha. It should be osir upon you kikarban. And then he adds a tnai im iatanosin with me kur shalchita l'shtei chavio shel yayin. If you will refuse to give me for my son a significant gift, Rabbi Meir says that the neder is chal, and his friend will not be allowed to get any hana from him until he gives the gift that was stipulated. So the neder is chal. Chacham omrim af ze yochel lahatis nidro shelo pi chacham. This neder is not chal, and it's completely null and void even without a hataras chachamim. Why? She yochel lomar, because the madir says to his friend, even though you didn't give me any gift, harenu ki'ilu his kabalti. It's as choshev in my eyes as if you gave me this matan. And therefore the neder is not chal. So the Gemara is medayik. Time of the reason why the neder is not chal is the Omar Reni Kilkis Kabalti, because the Madir says it's as if I got that gift from you. That's how I consider it. Holafachi, in the absence of that svara, if he would not say Harenu Kilkis Kabalti, nederhu, the neder would be valid. And again, Mani, who could this be? Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov nidrei zeres in Abi. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said that a person who very much wants his friend to eat with him and he's madir him, that's nidrei zeres, and he's only using as the neder as a method to pressure him and to agree to come and eat with him. And that's called nidrei zeres. He's only trying to be mizaris his friend, and here too, in this very case, he wants to be mizaris his friend that he should give this gift to his son, and therefore he threatens to create a neder on him, but that's only a ploy. And therefore the neder would be chal. So which shita would possibly maintain that in the absence of hareni his kabalti, the neder would be chal, and it's not nidrei zeres and olav? By process of elimination, Rabbanan, it must be the rabbis disagreed with Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, who pleaded. And they never accept that svara that when he's madir chaver b'tnai, that if you don't eat with me, you should be also ba'no. We're not going to say like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov that this was only nidrei zerzin, but rather his kavanah was that if the tnai would be fulfilled, that means if he won't actually come and enjoy the benefits of his food, then the neder should be chal, and he's answering his nechasim on his friend. And this was really his serious decision. And the Gemara rejects it. Lo. You can't prove from here that the Rabbanan argue and reject Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Why? We all know Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. It could be that this Mishnah reflects the shita of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, who moder Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov ahai the nidravi. In this case, where he prohibits his nechasim on his friend, if he won't give a gift to his son, he meant it as a serious neder. This was not just to be mizaris his friend in order to pressure him that he should give this gift to his son. He should be Omerle, Lav Malka. I'm not this rich king who gives to others, but he doesn't have to get anything in return. I don't want to be mehanina loch, to be mahana you on the chasim. I can't just give it out carte blanche, like as if I own the world. The atlo mahanasi, and I don't get anything in return. So this is a case where even Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov would agree that this is a serious neder. He really wants to get something in return. And if he's not getting it, then you're not being mahanavi. So I don't want you to have hanoah for minor chassid. But if there is a possibility that the noder is only being Mizaris is Chavra to get him to eat with him, then even the Rabbanah might agree to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov that it's a Nidrei Zerizin and you don't need HaTorah Chacham. And now the Gemara quotes a different Mishnah on Daf Chav Zayin, Omalei Mar Shisha Breda Chizler of Hashi Toshma. Let's take a look at the Mishnah of Nidrei Onsim. What is the case of Nidrei Onsim where he doesn't need HaTorah Chacham? A man invites his friend to come and eat with him, and in order to strengthen that invitation, Hidiro Chavero Sheyochal Etzlo. Now, at this point in the Gemara, in the development of the Sugya, the Gemara thinks that the Mazmin, the one who invited, we'll call him Ruvain, he was Madir Shimon the Muzman from all his nechasim, if Shimon refuses to come and eat with him. And the Muzman, at the end of the day, was prevented from showing up at the Suda by mitigating and extreme circumstances. Cholahu, he became sick, or Cholapano, someone in his family became sick, or Itvanar, or the bridge broke down, and he couldn't possibly come to eat with him. This is Nidrei Onsim, because the Mazmin only imposed this neder on the Muzman, thinking that the Muzman would deliberately decide not to show up. But in this case, circumstances were beyond his control, and that's why he didn't show up. So the Noder does not, the Mazmin, who's the Noder, does not want this ned to be chal. So the Gemara again is Medayik. Holav Hachi, if not for the fact that he was prevented because of onus from coming to the table of his friend, of the Mazmin, Neder, the Neder would be chal. Because again, this is not just zirus, he's really serious. Mani, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Zerizin Havi, this should be a neder Zerizin. This is exactly the scenario in which Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov used the principle of Zerizin. When a person wants his friend to eat with him, the Mazman invites the Muzman, and he pressures him, and he says, you know what, if you don't come, I'll be mad at you. And in such a case, the neder should not be chal. And yet here, in the case of Nidrei Onsim, it's only because of the onus that prevented the Muzman from coming to the Mazman's house to eat. That's why the neder is not chal. And if it wasn't the onus, then the neder would be chal. Whereas according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, this is a Nidrei Zerizin case. It's a way, a ploy, and a method in which he pressures his friend to come in and eat with him, and the neder should not be chal. So regardless of onus, elav, by process of elimination, Rabbanan, upligi, we have to assume that Rabbanan did not accept the principle of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov when a person is mad to his friend, if his friend will not come and eat with him, it's Nidrei Zerizin. No, we're going to say, this is not a kavanah just for zirus, but really he meant that if the Tanai would be fulfilled and you don't come, then the neder will be chal, and the Gemara rejects it. We olam Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. We're going to accept this mission of Nidrei Onsim, even if it reflects the sheet of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. And you had the case wrong. You assumed that the Mazmin was Madir the Muzman. No. Mi Savis the Adre Mazmin Lazmine, that the Mazmin was Madir. Reuben was Madir the Muzman, the Shimon was invited in order to be a Zaris, and therefore you say, well, this should be Nidrei Zerizin. Lo, that's not the case we're talking about in the Mishnah. This mine adre lemazmina. It's just the exact opposite. The Mazmin took a neder because the Muzman asked him to take the neder. What does that mean? The Omerle, the Muzman says to the Mazmin, Mazman li l'sudatzech, I want you to invite me to a Suda. Omerle in. So the future Mazmin, so to speak, the potential Mazmin says, yeah, you know what? I'll invite you to the Suda. So the Musman wants to make sure that this is a binding a commitment, that in fact the so-called Masmin, the future Masmin, will come through in the clutch and he'll actually invite him to the Suda. So now the Musman asks the Masmin, Neder zel lecha, are you prepared to strengthen your commitment, your word, that you will invite me, and take a neder that if you don't invite me, then te'esar es nechasayich alai or es nechasi al atzmecha. Right? It could go in two ways now. It could be that you'll create impose an neder on your nechasim vis-a-vis my Isra, or the opposite. Or my nechasim, you'll be accepting upon yourself that they'll be usher to you. And he's very serious now. The Musman says to the Masman, I want you to take a neder that will bind you to your commitment that you will invite me to eat. Vin nodar. And the Masman replied in the positive, in the affirmative, to the request of the Musman, and he took the neder. In such a case, the neder is a very serious neder, because the Masman was responding to the bakasha, to the request of the Musman. And the only reason why the neder won't be chal is because it's nidrei onsim, it's not nidrei zerizim. In other words, if not for this onus that prevented him from coming, then it's not a ziruz when the Masmin responded to the Musman. And therefore, it would be a serious neder. Toshma, yes, al kain. Now the Gemara wants to prove from a brisa that Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov went even a step further. And in addition to the case where he wants his friend to eat with him, and he's madir him and nidrei zeris, and Om Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov, an even greater chiddush, ha'omer l'chavera konam shani nene lecha, that which I will benefit from you should be also alike a carbon. Im iyata misareach etzli v'sochal imi chita v'tishte im paspita v'tishte imi kos chami. So the Masmin says to the Musman that I will be enjoined from having any benefit from you if you refuse to become a guest in my house and eat the best breads, fresh gebakt, right out of the oven, and you'll drink with me a cup of coffee or something hot. Now what happens? Halah hikpid kenegdo. The Musman was makpid kenegdo. In other words, he doesn't want to come as a gift, as a guest. Is af elu, says Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov, even this case is nidrei zerizim. And the Chachamim were matir the neder even without hatoras chacham, heter chacham. And now there's a long discussion here in the commentaries about why this is a greater chiddush. And they quote the Rashba. The Mishnah prohibits the Masmin, right? I mean, say, in the case of the Mishnah, the Masmin prohibits his nechasim on the Musman. And for sure, in that case, it's just the ziruz. He's pressuring the Musman by saying that you, the Mr. Musman, you, Mr. Shimon, will not be able to benefit from me. But now the Bryce is being mechadesh a case where the Masmin, that's Ruvain, prohibits upon himself to have hanaf in the Musman. And there the Svara would have it that his Kavana Lindar was Bedafki, was very serious. Why? Because he doesn't want to be like a Kelev that benefits and doesn't give back anything. And by having hanaf from his friend, when his friend didn't even have the decency, so to speak, of coming to be a guest and being mechabed him, so he seriously was oser the hanaf from the Musman onto himself, the Masmin. Nevertheless, Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov holds that is considered nidre zerizin. That's a big finish. And the Gemara reports that lo hodu lo chachamim. The chacham disagreed with him, and they held that since he, the mazmin, we call the Reuben, prohibited upon himself to have any benefit from the nechasim of the muzman, his kavanah was that the neder should be chal. As we said before, he doesn't want to be like a dog. Shehu yehena michaver v'chaver lo yehena mimenu. And therefore, we have to assume that this is a serious neder. It's so interesting to me, the psychology of the Gemara, that all this pressure that the Mazmin wants the Muzman to come, it's almost like his whole future reputation is on the line. If you refuse to come to me as a guest, it's like a tremendous insult. And all this emotional energy that's being put into the neder, that is, sometimes the Muzman is saying, I'm going to take a neder on myself, that the Mazman, excuse me, I'm going to take a neder on myself that I won't get any benefit from you. And why? Because you won't give me the decency and the honor of coming to eat with me. So the Gemara now is midayik. My lo hodu lo chachamim. What does it mean in this price that the chachamim did not accept Rabbi Eliezer? And they held it's not nidre zerizin.